The First Amendment is one of the boldest declarations of how the future does not need to be like the past. It is not a coincidence that the First Amendment starts really being strongly interpreted in the late 1950s, right around the same time the civil rights movement starts, the women's rights movement starts, and the gay rights movement starts to really get off the ground. Without freedom of speech, the civil rights movement would have been a bird without wings. I feel like we're in danger right now of having a situation that is teaching people wrong lessons about freedom of speech. Now, what we're trying to do at FIRE, we don't just fall back on the First Amendment. Freedom of speech is a bigger, bolder, older, more profound idea than simply the First Amendment. People like Ken Griffin actually understand you can't fix problems in society if you can't talk about them. If you define something as being banned simply because someone finds it offensive, you are giving the censor everything they need to shut you up kind of forever. We are incredibly good at justifying censorship. I believe in free speech, but you can't say that. My name is Greg Lukianoff. I am the president and CEO of the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression.
FIRE's mission is to defend the individual rights of all Americans to free speech. And it all started with this document.
The placement of the First Amendment first does show how important we thought it was. It came before the right to due process. It came before quartering troops in your own house. It came before the right to bear arms. What the founders were trying to do with just one sentence was eliminate censorship, give freedom of religion, create freedom of the press, to eliminate some of the major reasons why civilizations had been fighting religious wars for centuries. I think freedom of speech is under threat globally. We've taken it for granted. It's actually in much graver threat in other parts of the world than it is in the United States. For some decades now, there has been a very strong free speech skeptical movement on college campuses. Let's take the Red Scare, for example. That involved about 100 to 130 professors being fired from about 1947 to 1957. Since 2014, we've seen over 800 attempts to get professors fired or otherwise punished for their freedom of speech.
Today, an alarming number of colleges and universities have enacted policies that may suppress protected speech. Given these growing restrictions, much of FIRE's work is focused on college campuses. To date, they've won over 1,000 direct advocacy victories on behalf of free speech for students and faculty.
We believed that over the course of 3 years, we could add 1 million new followers, 1 million new emails, 1 million allies of freedom of speech. Well, guess what? In our first year, we're at 500,000. We are going to blow right past that 1 million goal. FIRE feels incredibly lucky to have someone like Ken Griffin as one of our supporters. They see what the biggest problems are in society, and they want to figure out an effective way of addressing that problem. At the absolute baseline, you can't have a democratic society without freedom of speech, because people can get used to anything. And unfortunately, they can even get used to living in a country where, sure, you can have your political opinions, but you can't really say them. It's up to us, to our allies and to our friends, to go out there and say, you know what? It's important to talk this stuff out, and that we have patience and tolerance for finding out what people are actually like. That's how you keep your democracy truly democratic, truly pluralistic. Because if you have to lie about who you are, I mean, who wants that?